On today's episode of Baking with Asimi, we're baking and decorating a cake from scratch, step by step. So if you've ever wanted to make a cake that not only tastes delicious, but looks amazing, you're in the right place. So let's start. So first thing on the list, we are going to bake our cake, and for this I'm baking the coconut cake. So that's my measured out flour. I'm going to add baking powder to the flour, mix it. Going to measure out my sugar. I'm using a scale for this measurement, and the measurement will be in the description box. So I'm taking it so that it will be up to the scale. So I'm going to add margarine. For this I'm using margarine because it's more affordable, but if you can afford butter, beautiful. So I'm going to take out a bit of it because I want to follow this recipe to a T. Then I'm going to add oil because I want my coconut cake to be really fluffy. So I'm going to mix everything together with a whisk. So this is called creaming. I'm creaming it. So when you get some texture like this, you're going to add 2 large eggs. Please, large eggs. When you add large eggs, it makes it more fluffy and moist. So if you want a moist and really fluffy cake, please add eggs, large eggs in particular. So I'm going to use a whisk to mix this. We'll mix it till it's thoroughly combined. This is what you should get, yes. So after this, I'm going to add a bit of baking powder, and then the flour, I'm going to sieve it, then mix my dry and wet ingredients together. You can see this process is very seamless. So I'm going to add coconut milk because we are making coconut cake. Can your cake ever? So I'm going to add a bit of the same flour, whisk everything together because we don't want to eat rubbish in our cake. So always make sure you whisk your flour. And the only reason why I'm not adding the flour at once is so that it will not be overwhelming and it will be easy to mix, because if you don't do it like this, your cake batter may have lumps. So try to add your flour, your dry ingredients, bit by bit. It makes it easier. So I'm going to add coconut flakes to this, mix it together, add another bit of coconut flakes, which will also mix together. So I'm going to add coconut flavor to this. Use that same whisk to whisk everything together. So in a greased pan, I'm going to be adding my coconut cake batter to it. So you can also check my channel for other cake recipes. I have coconut cake, I have red velvet cake, I have vanilla cake, I have carrot cake. So I'm doing this to remove the air bubbles in the cake, and then I'm going to add the coconut flakes on the cake. So if you have gotten to this stage, you preheat your oven and then you bake for 30 minutes on low heat, and this is all you get. Coconut cake is ready. So you allow the cake to cool. So let's decorate the cake. So you're going to get a cake board, then you place a little buttercream in the middle of the cake board. You are placing this buttercream so that the cake will not slide off the board. Then we are going to add the coconut cake because it's weightier, so I'm going to use that as the first level. This cake is 6 inches 2 layers. I'm going to be adding chocolate cake on it. I'm going to spread out buttercream on it, so that will serve as a filling for the layers of the cake. So I'm going to turn this cake upside down. Why I'm turning this cake upside down is that it gives it a flat and sharp top edge. So whenever you bake and you want to do 2 layers cake, please turn it upside down so that you have sharp edges. So I'm applying a thin layer of buttercream to seal in the crumbs, which is called crumb coating. Why I'm crumb coating this cake is so that when you add the outer layer of the buttercream, you will not see crumbs in it. Do you understand? I think I've explained good. So because the buttercream I used was not enough to crumb coat the cake, you can still see there are some crumbs that are evident on the cake. I'm going to add extra buttercream. So I had leftover buttercream. Please, when you are making your own cake, use the same color you are going to use to design the cake with the crumb coating. Don't do this color mixture that you did. And this tool that I'm using to crumb coat the cake is called a palette knife. So I'm going to use this palette knife to add buttercream to the middle of the cake, because we want everything to be the same width, length and height. So do you understand? So I'm just going to seal everything in it. Crumb coating is so essential because it makes your cake to actually look really presentable and it will look really clean. So always crumb coat your cake. So after I'm going to use this palette knife, I'm going to use this cake scraper to scrape the excess buttercream on the cake. If you've gotten so far into the video, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. I post really good videos. So if you want a video on how to start a cake business, I have it up on my channel. So I'm going to use a smaller palette knife to just clean everything, place in the fridge for 30 minutes, and this is it. So I'm going to go in with my finer buttercream. There are two different methods on applying buttercream to your cake. So I'm using the method that is actually very simple to do, which is the piping method. You put your buttercream in a piping bag and then you just roll your cake, roll it around the cake, just apply it around the cake. You can see how simple this is. Anybody can even do this, anybody. So if you want to start, if you're just starting out with baking and decorating, use the piping method. It's easier and simple. So I'm going to use my cake scraper to remove and to also smoothen out the buttercream that is around the cake. So why this cake is rolling like this is with the help of a turntable. So I placed the cake board on a turntable. So I'm going to use the cake scraper, it will scrape the excess buttercream on the cake. You can see that there are holes around this cake. What can we do? Always observe your cake, check around, look at the mistakes and then look for ways to correct them. So I'm going to correct this first by starting with my cake scraper. So I'm going to align it and then just roll it to smoothen it out. So you can see that it's a bit smooth. So I'm also going to use that same cake scraper to try to smoothen it. So as you can see, the cake is not bad looking, it's not perfect, it's just there. So I'm going to just start with the head and then come down to the body to smoothen it out. I'm going to place the palette knife on the cake in a slant position. Use my turntable to assist me. So it's just my turntable that is turning, not my palette knife. So I'll just continue turning so I smoothen out the top of the cake. You can see that the buttercream is already covering the cake. So I'm going to make my sharp edges from the cake. Yes, it became dark because I was doing this cake outside and I started the cake around 6, so this was 7ish. So it became really pretty late. So you see why I said you should not use another color. If I used white buttercream, this mistake would not actually be so relevant there. So I tried to cover it up and then I'm going to use my cake scraper to scrape the excess buttercream on the cake. So I'm just making final touches to this cake by using my scraper to smoothen out the edges and also the top edge to make my edges sharp. So this is what it will give you when you do it rightly. These are the colors I'm using to pipe out my decorations on my cake. So basics of cake decoration, you need a piping bag, you need a nozzle, and you also need buttercream and any desired color of your choice. Cake decoration is actually like freestyling, if I was to say so myself. It's just trying your hands at different nozzle and at different designs and just piping whatever you want to do. So for this cake, I'm going to pipe out like a flowery design. Yes, so you just It's actually simple if you know the technique to be able to do it. I dropped this one and I actually did not like how it looks. I did not like the pattern. So I'm going to pipe another design on it. As I said, freestyle, except if like your customer gives you an inspo, that's when you want to like follow it. But if you are just trying out, just try out different designs. There's nothing that is wrong with that, and you have to bring out your creative genes out. So this is me just piping out the flowery designs on the cake. So if you have watched to this part of the video and you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please, what are you waiting for? I'm on my news. Subscribe to the channel. I promise you, I have good content. I have different cake recipes. I have different pastry business, how to start a cake business at home, how to start cookies business at home, how to make chocolate cake, just different things. Whatever you're interested in, I have it on my channel. So just go through my channel and see what you want to do. So I'm just going to put the final touches on my beautiful cake. Look at my cake now. This cake is so beautiful. So I'm just putting like those flower patterns on the cake. And one thing I like about this cake is about the mix of color. I used peach, I used lilac, I used purple, and I used a bit of white. I mixed like a little bit of peach with this white. It's not really showing in the camera, but it's not really as white as it is. Yes, it's like a mixture of peach and white together. I just mixed the buttercream with the color and I achieved this color. Because I don't want the base of the cake to look bare, I'm going to pipe it. So I'm just drawing this pattern on the base of the cake. I'm going to do two different color matches, lilac and peach, and this is it, and white too. I will come to the end of decorating and baking our cake, and I hope you've learned a lot from this video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. I will try to respond to it. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching.